Hey Raiders, Jacko here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. So today we're going to go into a champion who's far more niche than a lot of the champions we've looked into so far. However, that being said, she is one of the first epic champions that I got and decided to level all the way up to 60 and everything, and she helped my progression immensely, and that is our own Sepulcher Sentinel. Now, Sepulcher Sentinel is very specialized in her usefulness when it comes to endgame. She is an absolute beast when it comes to clan boss. But that's not her only use. She is a very good defense-based champion for the rest of your teams as you're progressing. When you get to the point where you're starting to get a lot of champs, you're specializing in your teams, you're going to find that she falls out of those teams rather regularly and will only really stick with you in clan boss. But until you get to that point, even up into the level 20 dungeons, Sepulcher Sentinel is wonderful. So let's go ahead and go into her kit and how I've got her built and how I should have her built since she is still part of my clan boss team. So to start off with, her A1, Sword of Withering, is one of the big reasons she is, or maybe one of the absolute essential reasons that she is a clan boss specialized champion. So, Sword of Withering attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 2 turns. When she's booked out, that gets up to 60%. So, she's got a large percentage chance on her A1 to decrease the attack of the clan boss. This is vital. You always need someone who can keep a decreased attack on the clan boss in your clan boss team. The name of the game in clan boss is survivability. Reducing the damage he's putting out by close to 50%, that's huge. And something you really want to focus in on is getting that decrease attack champ. And having the decrease attack on the A1 means that she's got more chances to get it out there, to get the buff on the boss before the boss is going. So, absolutely wonderful A1. On her A2, we've got Sepulcher Shield. Places a 60% increased defense debuff and a block debuffs buff on all allies for 2 turns. Now, the increased defense buff is really nice. It increases your survivability, and if you've got a defensive-based team, it increases your damage output as well. Those are great things for clan boss. But this block debuffs, this is clutch for clan boss. So, if you've got Sepulcher Sentinel, you're going to want to speed tune her. Speed tuning is when you get champions set at certain speeds for the content they're running through so that they go in a set order while facing the clan boss. If you can do a 4-to-3, which means a speed ratio of 4 turns to 3 turns for Sepulcher Sentinel, meaning she goes 4 times for every time that the clan boss goes 3 times, you're going to be able to have this block debuffs buff up every time he goes for that big stun hit that he does, which means the stun isn't going to affect the champion it hits. This is wonderful. Never losing a turn on one of your champions to that stun is huge. It also will keep essentially the block debuffs buff up continuously through the run for any other debuffs he might throw out. Finally, and the weird one here, is her passive, Untouched by Death, has a 25% chance of completely blocking incoming damage when an ally is attacked. This can occur once per turn, will only block damage from the targeted ally if multiple allies are attacked at the same time. So, what this means is every time your team gets hit by a champion or a boss, she has the chance of blocking all the damage for one champ once. When you book her out, that gets another 10, 20, 25%, so that's a 50% chance. So a flip of the coin on every hit that someone won't take damage. It flies under the radar when you're playing, you don't notice it very much, but it actually has a massive impact on your survivability. So with her A1 doing the decrease attack, her A2 giving the block debuffs, and her passive ignoring damage for one person sometimes, she is a powerhouse when it comes to clan boss. Now, artifacts wise, She is a defensive-based champion, so if you want damage out of her, if you want survivability out of her, you're going to want to build defense. I specifically pumped defense over HP because I wanted her to be the target in many of my teams. I wanted her to be the lowest HP champion so that she was the one targeted. That way, her special abilities come into effect, and it's all good. You also need accuracy. To land that decrease attack, you need good accuracy. Now, as I said, currently, I have not gone in and really focused on my rebuild, getting her from early to mid game up to mid game end game. So I haven't gone in and redone all of her equipment to get her there. As you can see, her accuracy is only 90. It really needs to be up in the 200 range if I'm going to use it outside of Clan Boss. Her crit rate and crit damage don't really matter. I find that she actually does a pretty decent clip of damage, even with only a 26% crit rate. Her speed is where you're going to need to focus. And since we're here, let's go ahead and take a look at a website of Deadwood Jedis. This content creator is his website. It's a mecca when it comes to Clan Boss information. Just absolutely wonderful. So this is specifically for Ultra Nightmare. However, the speeds are pretty close, just a little bit higher if you're working on Nightmare as well. So what this is telling us is that we need to build a team centered around Sepulcher Sentinel, with Sepulcher Sentinel having a 239 speed, or thereabouts. Your next champion in line, you want a 192, down to a 182, to a 177, to a 175. Those are the speeds you want on your Clan Boss team for a 4-3 speed ratio. Now, that 4-3 speed ratio is going to be vital for prolonging your Clan Boss run. Really important, and something that I need to sit down after this Fragment Fusion event is over, sit down, define who my Clan Boss team is for the next however long until I manage to pull, some man-eaters, and get them into this speed setup. I'm on the verge of going into Nightmare Clan Boss. With a speed tune, I will be there. It'll be easy. So, as we can see with Sepulcher Sentinel here, I am way under my mark for speed. I need to rebuild her. However, I've got a nice defense at 3,200. I've got a passable health hit points at 25,000. It's passable. But what do we need to focus on with Sepulcher Sentinel? Because she is a Clan Boss specialist, the speed is going to be number one. Number one. After that, we're looking at accuracy. Accuracy needs to be to the point where she never misses, or she never gets resisted on that A1 decrease attack if she uses it. That needs to be an every time hit. Finally, we're going to want to build her survivability. So defense and health. You're going to want to get these up to the benchmarks. I believe health for Ultra Nightmare, your benchmark is 34,000. And then defense pretty much as high as it will go. She does bring that defense aura, which is wonderful. Or not aura, but untouched by death. Or Sepulcher shield, the buff, the defense buff. Speaking of auras, however, she does have an increased ally defense in all battles by 25%. This kit works exceptionally well for dungeons as well. She's been my lead in dungeons pretty much since I got her, up until the point that I got Apothecary, and phased her out of the teams. Her aura is absolutely wonderful. Ignoring as much damage as she does with the Untouched by Death, getting that defense boost, and on any of the bosses, a decreased attack is beneficial. It really doesn't matter what boss you go up against. So, there is Sepulcher Sentinel. Masteries wise, I went ahead and a pretty typical mastery. I went down the left side of the offense tree to War Master. I went down to increase accuracy and to try and extend her debuffs. Sniper so that the A1 hits more often. I've got her up to a 65%. I really recommend that. Any little bit to make sure that that A1 lands more consistently is a boon for your team. And then Master Hexer to hopefully keep that decrease attack up even another turn longer. Absolutely wonderful. You could go down the buff side of the tree to make sure that that increased defense and the block buffs stay up longer, but I decided that the debuff attack, the decreased attack debuff, was more important to my builds than the buffs were. So, there you have it. I definitely need to do a lot of work on her speed to get her where she needs to be for a speed tune. But don't neglect Sepulcher Sentinel if you pull her in the early to mid game. She is a great champion to go ahead and build. You can use her all the way into the end game, all the way to stage 20 dungeons. I guess end game is now stage 25, so haven't tested that out. But you can take her all the way into stage 20 of dungeons, and she'll be a staple in your clan boss team for quite a while until you can manage to get either a perfect counter attack team, though she is good in a counter attack team, which is what I am building, or an unkillable team. She's not going to be useful in an unkillable team, in all honesty. But if you don't have those, then she is going to be wonderful in your teams. So, aesthetic-wise, armor here, she's got nice greaves, she's got nice armored high heels here, and as we've talked about quite a bit at this point, high heels are not the detriment to combat that everybody seems to think they are. It's all a matter of training. If you have trained in high heels, if you've walked in high heels, if you've run in high heels for a good portion of your life, they are not a detriment. Just like combat boots. If you move from combat boots to sneakers, you're going to have a change in ability level. It's all about what you train in when it comes right down to it. She's got decent upper leg protection, protecting the outside of the leg. She's not protecting the inside of the leg at all. Incredibly not protecting any of the groin area at all. In fact, she seems to be putting the groin area on display. No chest armor. Again, we've got essentially some bondage straps going on here, so she's probably having a lot of fun. She's not built for combat for the chest and stomach areas. She's leaving all of her vital organs open there. Armor. She's got vambraces. She's got pauldrons that are definitely overstated. They're definitely on the necromonger side of pauldrons, though apparently the Knights Revenant really like that kind of necromonger style. Big, imposing, rather unuseful. And these pauldrons don't actually cover really the point of the shoulder, so she's still going to take a lot of damage from downward strikes that don't hit her head. How they didn't hit her head is a surprise given this helmet. Helmet leaves most of her, face unprotected. That's not a great idea. And has a massive profile, essentially, on the top of the head. For some reason, protecting her hair. I'm not sure about that. And she's got these points up here. So those points are going to get in the way of fighting, as we've talked about quite a bit. The fact that they're split points means that they'll actually catch downward blows and direct them into the center of the helm. So if a sword comes down here and hits here, it's going to deflect into the helm rather than deflecting out. That's just going to catch strikes. Not a great thing. You would much rather have the blow deflect out and away than deflecting in to the head. She's got a lot of hair back here, which with the steel reinforcements on the head or the hairband here, actually probably gives quite a bit of protection for her back and the back of her neck, which she also is protecting with a gorget. Very nice. It's actually a very nice gorget. It's not, given her helm, it's not high enough to protect this itty bits right here, which are pretty vital. However, she is protecting the rest of the esophagus, the back of the neck, on the the spinal cord there. So pretty good gorget. If she had a helm that actually came down and covered, the sides of her face and down in front of her face, this would be a perfect gorget. Given the helm she's wearing, it does leave quite a bit of her neck exposed. So overall, on armor, she definitely is got an aesthetic she's going for. It is not a combat aesthetic. It's going to attract a lot of people to her, but it's not a combat aesthetic. So we're going to go ahead and give Sepulcher here an overall aesthetic overview on her armor of 2 gourds. The armor she has is decent, but she just doesn't protect herself with it. Weapons-wise, we've got a nice single-handed Chris blade here. Chris is a style of blade that gets you the wavy look, and is historically accurate. Essentially, the thought process behind them is when you stab with them, the wound is quite a bit larger than with a similarly thickness sword that's straight. She's got a good crossguard, in all honesty. It will catch blades very nicely. It won't let them slide down into her hand. Not much of a counterweight here, so she's probably using the weight of the blade in her combat rather than having it counterbalanced for ease of motion. Hopefully she is rather buff because that gets really tiring on the arm over a while. Shield-wise, she's actually got a pretty solid shield, and the decorations on it, the snakes and skulls, are great. Definitely reminds me of a lot of 80s hair metal band covers, which I'm a fan of. Dating myself a little bit there, but there you have it. She's got a very 80s hair metal shield when it comes down to it. I love the decorations. Functionally wise, as a shield, it's pretty good. It's got good protection for her lower body. She can shrug that down to protect her legs very nicely. Shrug it back to protect her overly exposed ass. Wonderful there. It does have enough protection up top to be able to be used to protect her head, her chest, and everything like that. Maybe she is so ungodly good with the shield that she doesn't need the chest and body protection, that she is so confident in her shield work that armor in those areas protecting the vital organs just isn't a thing for her. We can hope. The only critique I would have on the shield is these 2 snakes that are coming up off of it. They're going to get broken a lot. They're in the prime place to get hit. And she is going to find that they're in her way for certain maneuvers she does. One of a good maneuver is if you've got the sword and you've got the shield, is to come across and then strike out over the shield. And those snakes are going to get in the way of that particular shot. Which is sad. It's a really good shot. It's a sneaky shot. It will land you a killing blow quite frequently if they're not expecting you to do that. So overall, on the weapons, I'm going to give her an aesthetic overview of 4 gourds. I think she could do a little bit better with the shield. I think she could protect her hand on the sword better. That's the only reason she's not moving to a 5 gourd on the weapons. Badassitude. This is a hard one to judge. The armor, where it is very decorational. It's very ceremonial in nature, but it looks like it's also functional. This could add a level of badassitude to her. But at the same time, she leaves a lot of her vital organs, all of her vital organs, except for the head, exposed. I mean, she's leaving all of her tendons in the inner arm and the elbow exposed. She's leaving the femoral artery exposed. Everything in the chest and torso region is exposed. She's got no defense for the most vital parts of her. And that's going to bring the badassitude down. It's not scary to go up against someone who doesn't protect themselves. However, she does have good weapons. She does have a good shield that is, for her size, very protective. It covers a lot of her. And that could bump her back up, especially with ceremonial, the overly decorational aspects of both the shield and the rest of her armor, as well as the sword itself. So, badassitude, she's kind of a mixed bag here. And as such, we're going to go ahead and give her a badassitude rating of 3 gourds. Overall, she is a very interesting character. They finally, in my opinion, hit an interesting mix of sex versus substance. They definitely decided to go all sex in the torso and hips region of this character. I mean, she is dressed in bondage fetish gear for the chest, the hips, the legs, and everything. However, went ahead and gave her a shield that could cover that could compensate for it, and the pieces that are most easily hit outside of the shield, the legs, the thighs, the shoulders, the head, they actually have armored. They could have done a little bit better in armoring the elbows and such. They even took into account the fact that the hair is probably rather protective. To me, it looks like it's dreadlocked. When the hair gets dreadlocked like that, it gets very heavy. It gets very protective, especially with this kind of mass to it. How she can hold her head up, I have no idea. Her neck muscles must be just obscenely good. So they've hit this kind of mix of sex versus substance. It's the first female champion we've seen that has any allusion to trying to mix the two. I don't think they did it as well as they could have. They could have given her more form-fitting armor and made her better in that regard. So overall aesthetic, even though I absolutely love the hair metal band cover of a Shield album cover, I'm going to go ahead and only give Sepulcher Sentinel here a 3 gourd. I think they could have done better. But unlike some other champions we could mention, War Maiden, she has armor. She's trying at least. So she's not down in the 1 to 0 gourd area. So 3 gourds for Sepulcher Sentinel's overall look. There you have it. One of the first epics I got, and one of the epics that helped carry me through most of the content up to the point where I was starting to get legendary champions and really focused champions for the different teams. What about you? What champion did you get early on who has carried your team forward at this point? Is it someone like Sepulcher Sentinel? Is it a big AoE nuker like Skullcrown? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, please remember to hit that like, subscribe, and toll that bell so that you get all the notifications on the channel and we can keep all of this rolling. Otherwise, thank you, and I'll see you again next time on Jacko's Raider Rants.